It's the Football 360 show coming at you live on YouTube as well as X. Check us out there. Go ahead, follow us and like us, subscribe on YouTube, Football 360 show. Football 360 show on X as well. Do the same. Go ahead, follow and like, share, tell your friends, subscribe, all the good stuff that you need to do. You can also catch us on Instagram as well as football360show.com, all things football 360 show, as well as Apple and Spotify if you're just a podcast only, and of course KLIS 590 AM on the radio in St. Louis, your Lou Info station. Go ahead and check it out. I am JP Rock. He is Matt Bierman. How you doing, Matt? You with us today?
Doing great. Doing great.
What's going on?
Can you hear me all right?
I hear you just fine,
Okay,
man.
cool.
You look,
Yeah,
you look like you're into your phone. I'm throwing it to you.
I'm working, trying to get this posted online here. So I think we're all good to go.
Gotcha. So what's new?
Football. A lot of football every day. Same old stuff.
There you go. The floor is yours, man.
Yeah, we train a lot of kids. You know that you were in on Sunday. It was a busy day. So
yeah, I can't remember what day this is. Tuesday. Yeah, Sunday. A lot of kids. There are a lot of middle school kids in there, which was good to see.
A lot of youth, a lot of middle school, a lot of high school. So yeah, it was good. Just it's always.
In fact, I was just. Yeah, I was just telling somebody. Actually sent a picture of your 6'10" 8th grader.
It looked like Big John. If you're, everybody knows Big John, our coach.
Well, Big John was 360 pounds in 8th grade. So. no lie. In fact, John and I was talking. I took a picture. I should have sent it to put up, but I took a picture of this kid next to Big John, and I don't know, man. He might be a little taller than Big John. Actually,
crazy. And what the funny thing is people when they see him, there's a lot. Everybody's got a friend that's a pretty big guy, and
right.
Big John is truly Big John. He's been big since you and I have known him since middle school. I mean, he's been big since elementary school.
Big John is really Giant John.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this ain't no lie. The professional wrestlers that they say are like 700, 7 feet, 7'4", 500 pounds.
Yeah.
They're closer to probably Big John's size, right? Probably closer to 6'10", maybe 6'11". So I mean that's Big John. Big John is about 6'10" and a half. I think that was what we measured him at the Elite Combine.
Yeah, right.
And he was 360 then, and he might be a cookie or two closer to 450.
Yeah, he's a big dude, man.
He's a big man.
Big man. It is funny. We had we'll have to have him on the show. He was in the other day with his team, Lawrence Maroney. You remember him? He played with
Normandy,
Minnesota, and the Normandy, then Minnesota, then with Patriots. And he walked over me. He's like, he is huge. I said, yeah. He goes, you got to run around him. He's like, you got to have to absolutely put a pass rush on because he's so big and his arms are long. He's like, that's a big dude. I was like, oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, we love having it. But it is interesting when you see an 8th grader that is that tall. I mean, he is. Yeah. When they're warming up, because like an average 8th grader is 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah.
And then you look at that kid. He's a foot and a half taller than every other kid, and he's not like he's pretty well put together too. So it's it's never easy for the kids that are 6'1" to 6'4", like in 8th grade. Like kids just move because your body's growing so much and
your joints.
Yeah, and you just got achy joints. So, but yeah, that's what I think is so cool about the sport of football. And I've always said this to like the moms and dads of the world is like, name another sport where you can have kids, that are 5'2" playing football, and you got guys that are 6'10", and then every in between, all shapes and sizes, all different, genetic makeups. You have all different, styles, and you can play the sport of football, and there's a position for it. That's the beauty of football, and that's what we do in our skills training. Is everything's by position.
Right.
The game of football really is a conglomerate of positions different size guys, different attributes, different mentalities that all come together on the field of play. And I think that is what's so unique. And that's not taking anything away from other sports, but it is definitely different than a lot of the other games where you almost have to fit the mold to be successful.
Right. No, what 100%. And I mean, it was great. It's great to see him, and he moves pretty well, so he's going to be an interesting guy to see
Mm-hmm.
develops. I do believe he's going to Francis Howell.
Because
So
Francis Howell and Eureka have always have big linemen.
they
You know,
do.
they
I
do.
think
They
it's the
yeah.
radioactive materials.
They do. They do. They have big
Right.
kids at both schools. It's wild. So got to see Coach Brian Koch, who used to be the head coach of Francis Howell.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He was in with his son, Ty.
Hmm.
So it is always cool when you get to see the, guys that have coached high school football or current coaches when they bring their kids in. It's always fun because it's their turn, and it's nice because I've experienced this where I'm always coaching, right? So then when I
Hmm.
take like Braden to say a college camp or I'm at the Manning camp, um, I don't have to coach. And a couple of years ago, Brady Cook was working the Manning camp, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "Do you think would you want to coach the Manning camp?" He's like, "I talked to them and told them you were coming down, and it was like, hey, would you want to help coach?" And I said to him, "No, to be honest with you, I'm gonna check my coaching hat, put it to the
Yeah.
side, and I want to be dad and just sit and watch."
Yep.
And quite honestly, JP, it's like one of the weeks out of the year that like I get to go just be a dad and
Yeah.
watch and like not even critique anything, just have fun, or not even fun, just relax and watch. And
Yeah.
it's
I
a
was
cool
gonna say, yeah, there's like 363 other days where you are literally coach.
yeah, and it's like you're coaching. Yeah, it's like I don't know, and I certainly do enjoy coaching my own son, but I also
Mhm.
enjoy watching other people pour into him and coach him too. So,
Yeah.
and that's even in our own facility. Like, I mean, it's one of those things that,
You got some great coaches there, and
yeah,
and I see young guys coming back who you've trained, who are college players who will come back and help coach with you guys. Of course, Coach Marcus, one of the best.
yep,
Always loved to see that. I tell people all the time, if they are in the region, not even just the St. Louis area, you're a quarterback in the region, state of Missouri, state of Illinois. I mean, look at your track record. You know,
JP, I'll have to say this. I mean, the number of people that okay, so a couple things, and I know that we do not put up a lot of like crazy social media stuff because it's like we're working, right? We're training, we're,
no,
we're, we're doing our thing.
don't toot
So,
your own horn.
but we don't. And so, like, when we talked about that deal the other day, um, with like the 4 kids on the Jets, right? We also have
Mhm.
kids that are playing on the Lions, but
Mm.
somebody thought they were being cute and chimed in and said something to the effect of, "Well, you didn't really develop those guys. They may have just come and trained at your. There's a difference with them training at your place and developing them." I'm like, no, no, no. If you even knew
Yeah,
the half of the truth about the number of hours that Brady Cook, Isaiah Williams, Tony Adams,
yeah,
Marquise Hayes, all those guys spent in our facility. I mean, Brady and Isaiah and Tony in particular, those 3, the number you're bordering on thousands of hours with those guys over the years. Like literally
right,
that many of hours, like just crazy. Like they're pretty much throughout the year. And oh, by the way, they come back on their breaks, right? And so
right.
I think what's interesting is since we live in this era where people think that you're going to post everything you do on social media and that's how you justify yourself.
Yeah,
The reality is our justification is the results they put on the field and the
yeah,
time we spent with them. We don't need to justify posting a workout with somebody to make us feel good about what we're doing. What our goal is, and unfortunately, JP, that is a whole underbelly of the new age coaches. That's how they roll, right?
mhm,
They work with the kid 2 or 3 times, and they put them through a few cone drills or bag drills, and then that's what they think is that. I mean, that's the training, right? Whereas going through the trials and tribulations with an athlete, from the time they're in second grade through, their first year in the NFL. I mean, those conversations have been had with with Brady Cook, right? Those training sessions have been had. Those times when things weren't going their way in high school, or they weren't going their way in college, or their things aren't going the way in the NFL. Those conversations are relying upon all the work you put in with those people throughout the years, and it's far deeper than an Instagram or a Twitter post. Like the guy, it's almost makes you nauseous when you think about, like, that's what people think coaching and developing is.
Right.
Well, I didn't see him on your post. No, we have.
I didn't see a hype video.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't see a hype video.
Didn't
But the
see a
funny
hype
thing is
video.
that right after the game that Sunday night is when it happened. Brady actually tweeted or chimed in on the Instagram post and said that, no, you're wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're wrong. But it is funny because it's kind of the state of the game. There's so many people that want to get fed off of football now. When you and
Mhm.
I first started doing what we're doing, it was for the love of the game. It's very
Yep.
pure. The intention is very pure because we both enjoy the game, love it. It's done a lot for us, both in
Yes.
our personal life and our athletic life.
Yep.
But JP, like
We love helping people.
JP, but that's the problem, is that
Yeah.
it's an easy, people are easy marks when it comes time to, um, do, oh, come work with me, come do this, come do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can get your kid a scholarship.
Right.
Okay, the proof's in the pudding.
A lot of
Like,
promises out there. Yeah.
a lot of promises, and unfortunately, a lot of guys, um, that just think because they played that they're going to be great coaches. Just because
Mhm.
they got a scholarship, they can get your kid a scholarship.
Right.
Uh, Chances are it's a different world between what we're talking about and they're talking about. Like, it's just different. Like, there's no way around it, JP. Like, the hours you've put in and the hours we've put in collectively, like what that can do to help somebody. And I enjoy helping people. Like, it's not
Right.
a get over on somebody. Like, at the end of the day, uh, you and I, our track record is going to stand whether that kid goes and does what he's, wanting to do or not. Like there's
Without question.
plenty of kids that we can help, and so,
Without question. And you say the key word there, help. Right. And anybody who tells you they're going to guarantee your kid a scholarship is just flat out lying to you. What you can find is help, right? We're really tools, for you to pull out and help your child with, from the training aspect, from the consulting aspect, from the recruiting aspect, things like that. But us, the only people that can guarantee you a scholarship are college coaches.
right, 100%.
And that's it. So anybody out there who's I could do this for you, I can do that for you. They're selling you,
Mhm.
right? They're not, their guarantee is pretty much worthless. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes guys find guys who they know are guaranteed going to get a scholarship. I can tell you right now who's going to get a scholarship. Right? If you go to my X account, okay. So like yesterday, all the I think it's 5 Columbia Rockbridge players picked up D1 offers, right?
Mhm.
And they tag me and immediately, bam, here goes their picture, here goes their announcement of their offers. I have those pictures for a reason, right? I know who's next. I know who's going to be the guys, right? Who's going to get the interest, who's going to get the D1 scholarships. I know that in advance, right? Just from my years of experience, my years of being a scout. And so, that's the easy part. Picking out the guys who are the automatic guys. It's the guys who want that dream, who want to do that, who need to put in the work, who need to follow the right path, have the answers given to them on what to follow, decisions to make. Those are the guys, and put in the work, and do the performance work, and do the skills training and all that stuff. Those are the guys who need to put in that work. Those are the guys who need the extra help.
Correct. Like, it is so easy to see, right? And here's the thing. Sometimes, let's be truthful, sometimes it's easy for us to see, and it's a little more opaque and harder for the college coaches to see because they have so many
Very much.
people pulling their, them different ways. But I will tell you this, all those kids that you and I know can do it, and we've seen it happen time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
We know for a fact, like, hey, this is what it looks like. So when those guys finally do get their chance, and albeit it may be a little bit lower division right now than what it would have been 5 years ago,
Correct.
they're still going to rise. The cream will
Yep.
rise to the top. Like, we're not just like saying, "Oh, we like this kid. We think we hope and pray he's going to." No, there's things that we see that you say, "Oh, that's going to project at the next level." That production projects at the next level, right? And you know what's
Without a doubt.
interesting is I saw the other night we were watching Oregon and Indiana, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about that a little bit too. But one of the kids made a tackle, Tion Gray, and you and I both know. So you look back on his, his pathway, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You invited him in,
Yep.
okay? He
As
came,
as a freshman, no less.
yes, and he comes in. He's training,
Mm-hmm.
and there happened to be we were training a Division I coach, his son. So the coach was in there. His son was in town training with us. So the dad was there to pick up his son, and he was the D coordinator at Arkansas at the time, Barry Odom, and he walked, by him, saw him. We pointed him out, whatever. TN, that was his first offer, University of
Yep.
Arkansas, right then and there, right? And so I remember the look on his face was like bewildered, right? Like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look and you fast forward a couple years, like my point for saying this is the coach could see it that fast. He had a recommendation from a couple guys he trusts, and then like, hey, check this kid out. Watches him, walks over, gives him his first offer, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that scenario like that is a pretty darn good deal because guess what? He showed up, took the initiative to go do something different that maybe his friends didn't want to do that day,
Right.
and put himself out there. And then that began the beginning stages of him be getting more serious about training and coming in.
Yes.
He did came in and trained a lot. He did the Boom 7-on-7 team with Brian Schafering.
Elite combine.
The Boom the lineman team. He didn't do 7-on-7, but yeah,
Right.
to your point, like he did all the things that were necessary to get his name out there, trained. And oh, by the way, if he was 5'5" and 135 pounds, probably wouldn't have happened. But the
Right.
truth is, he has the size, he has the athletic ability, but sometimes that is not enough if you're not being seen. And I think that's what people don't understand is like we help in those ways too. Like a lot of people when they help nowadays, they are handout. Like, hey, give me something before I can help you. Well, yeah, there's a business side to this. Yes, you pay us to come in and train. But you know what? The truth of the matter is far more people get more out of it, than a financial gain when they come in and train because it helps their kid become more confident, more skilled, better at what they're doing. And then that gives them the opportunity to go out and nowadays actually earn money as a football player, right? And as not a
Correct.
professional football player in the NFL, but a professional football player in college, right? And so I do
You
think,
ain't kidding.
some of these contracts I've seen. I mean, I was shown one yesterday. Kid had 7 catches last year, minor production at a big
Mm-hmm.
SEC school.
Right.
Was going to make a little less this year than he was going to make last year that he made last year, and decided to test his feet in the transfer portal. Now he's making 675.
It's definitely worth it in that instance. I was just talking to her dad, got off the phone right before hopped on here, talking about that and the money making. And they had just taken a bunch of kids down to the U.S. Army Combine, right, to
Mm-hmm.
get trying to get an idea where they're at. And some of these guys are going to be at the Elite Combine and the KC Varsity Combine, but you don't get there. My point in telling them was you don't get there just by showing up, right? Just by being a good high school football player. Go into that combine, go into the Elite Combine, go into KC Varsity training. They train, right? They do performance training. 3 of the kids had a 4.2, 5.10, 5 shuttle down there. Now they're focusing on their 40 times,
But
and
historically, the 40s down there are not super fast.
they're not good.
They're
And
not.
No, and I pass that along because I know some of these guys are pretty fast. Um, but it's you know, they realize that you're not gonna, and the several of them are good wrestlers, and the one is one of the better wrestlers in the state, and he's foregoing his wrestling season because he knows his future's football, right? And so that's so intelligent for a kid who's a junior in high school to realize that. Would love another bite of that apple at a championship with wrestling, but what am I going to play in college? What do I want to play in college? And so he's dedicating himself. He feels like he has about 6 months to get to where he wants to for college camps. And so he'll along the line, there'll be the KC varsity that he'll do, and then boom, the college camps, and that's really the way to do it. Back to Tion Gray for a quick second, who, by the way, I don't know if you saw, he's in the portal now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Jay Harris. Jay Harris is at Kansas State now.
Yeah, would not be surprised to see Tion come a little closer to home, either. Kion Roberts Day also in the portal, another MVP of the elite combine. Tion was standout at the elite combine, but Tion saw him Carnahan High School, the now defunct Carnahan High School, play as a freshman. Invited him into elite to train, and then he stuck with it through. Coach Ray, Coach Curtis, Coach Schaefer, and Coach Brooks. That 7-on-7 boom lineman team that they had right there. He put in the work. Tion was a big kid. He's about 6'5", 336, I think now, 330 pounds now, playing at Oregon. But he put in the work. He was a good sized kid when I saw him as a freshman. He's about 6'4", 230, 225, 230. But he came in and he not only developed himself physically, but skill. And he worked and worked and worked. And I'm talking about, big guys like that coming in and they leave just soaked, right? Drenched in sweat. That's how they're really putting forth the effort to get better. Coach Schaefer was, he'll work you.
He's not playing games.
No. And so, kudos to those guys. And that's what we're talking about. You have to do the work, and on Sunday, good group of guys, dedicated guys, a lot of nice quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, good quarterbacks that don't even know what they are yet, right? They don't know how good they are, which I love to see.
Which is, our young freshman quarterback class is really solid, like really solid. And I think they don't even realize how good they are, and they're pushing each other, right? And I think it's just a good, friendly environment. It reminds me of the class we had with like Dalton Demos, Trevor McDonough, that whole crew, Thomas Militello years ago, is all Division I guys. That being said, the challenges that these guys are going to face are going to be so much stiffer than the challenges those guys. I mean, it's always a challenge to become a Division I quarterback. The challenge now of becoming a high school, phenom, and then getting schools to bite and choose,
getting anointed to be that guy.
Yeah, and having a high school guy. I mean, like the truth of the matter is like, I watch a lot of film and I see certain kids that are like, anointed nationally, and you're like, tell you what, I can watch 3 kids film that we train right now that are as good, if not better than that. But the truth is, a lot of it is it's where you're from, right? It's kind of where the hotbeds are and kind of where they know how to go back and find those guys year after year, or the next man up scenario. Like, so I think the tough thing is they're fighting, the kids out of the Midwest are fighting the stigma of, hey, they're not producing a lot of quarterbacks, which is not true. I mean, pretty much all the divisions this year have Midwest teams vying for the national title. Now, granted, it's not all Midwest kids playing on those teams anymore, but there's that. I mean, there's Ferris State, Illinois State, Indiana. I mean, you got there's a lot of good football being played. I think North Central up in Chicago. I mean, there's a lot of good football being played out of the Midwest, and I think the quarterback play is as good, if not better. I would say that, Missouri in particular because we're kind of like caught in between what are we north? Are we the south? Are we the Midwest? Are we west? Are we east? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like caught in the middle. But I personally would say you take the kids out of Missouri quarterback wise, and you compare them to guys in the northern states north of us, it's not even a competition. Like it is significantly better. Not to say that there's not one or two kids that are really good, but I would say by and large we produce a lot of quarterbacks out of our region, um, that are as good, if not better, than most of the kids around the country. I'd short of going to the Elite 11 and then they already have their guys picked, like as far as like like the California, Florida, guys and Georgia guys, but you watch them side by side and you realize the only major difference, JP, is that I've seen, and one thing that doesn't happen here nearly as much, is our kids that say when they're freshmen, they're 14. When they're sophomores, they're 15, turning 16. Right? When they're seniors, they are 17, turning 18. The problem is you go to these other places when they're seniors, they are 18, turning 19. And that is a huge difference. Huge difference.
Is with the physical development and everything. Hey, check us out on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. KLIS 590 AM. You can check it out on LouInfo.com, your Lou Info station. Check it out. And we're talking about quarterbacks at the moment, just the development, just the talent level. And you're absolutely right. You were saying how the quarterbacks in the state of Missouri that are developed are just as good as anywhere in the Midwest, and that's without a doubt. I know you'll find a kid like Mizzou has a commitment from a 2027 quarterback out of Omaha, Nebraska already. Nice kid. We saw him at the Mizzou camp.
Yep.
He's about what do you think he's about? 6 foot, 6'1", maybe.
Yeah, he's got a decent, thick body on him. A stronger body.
Yeah, good arm.
Good arm. But yeah, that's the thing is you're seeing though, JP. That's the other thing is you have. I think the sweet spot right now is that 5'10" to 6'1" quarterback is like. I think they've figured out like, hey, these are the guys that can run. Right? You start getting too much bigger than that. Yeah, there's some 6'2" guys that can run.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is like these D linemen.
You don't want to be 6'5" anymore.
I don't think you do.
No, you don't.
The speed at which these D linemen are moving,
right,
is significant, right? It's significant, and they're very athletic, and they need guys that can get in and out. So, and it's funny because I think we've touched on this, but years ago, I remember being at a thing at Rams Park, and Jeff Fisher was the head coach at the time, and he made the comment at one of these clinics we were involved in about quarterbacks. They wanted them to be 6'5" so they could see over the line and this and that, and or 6'4", whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, well, what's the advantage of a 6'4" guy over a guy that can see over your left tackle who's 6'7"? He's still looking in the back of his head versus looking at the back of his shoulders. Like at the end of the day, like you're not taller than him. Your eyes aren't taller. You don't look up on the field ever. You look level on the field. And I said, is it not that you're wanting them to look through the passing lanes? Like at what point
that's what it's all about?
And so it's like, but you hear guys like that, and that's the same guy who was like talking about quarterbacks playing high up on their toes, and it's like, yeah, but you don't even understand like the basic production of force. Like you don't produce force off your toes. Like you need to ground yourself with your feet on the ground so you can actually produce force to throw an object. It's like a golfer getting ready to hit, up on their tippy toes, or a baseball player on their tippy. Like you don't shoot basketballs that way.
No,
we're not running. We're throwing a ball. So, but yeah, stuff like that. There's old wives' tales that have been, kind of brought along. I mean, that quarterback that's up at, what's his name? The quarterback that signed the deal with Washington and then backed out. I think he's going to stay there now.
Oh yeah, he's staying there now. Yeah.
I forgot what his name is. Damon. Oh gosh, I forgot. But
I know who you're talking about. Is it Williams?
William. I think it is Williams. He's probably 5'10". Okay. He is a dynamic. He's very fast. He can run well, but he is a dynamic passer. And I think what's crazy is you and I have known for years, we've always seen these smaller quarterbacks that can flat out rip the football.
Nope.
But back 5 years, 6 years, 7 years ago, they would just write those guys off. Like Brett Gabbert's a great example. Coming out of high
Oh,
school, probably the most prolific passer come out of St. Louis in,
no.
in many, many, many years, if not ever. And you know what? The one knock against him was, well, is he 6 foot? He's 5'11" and three
Yeah.
quarters. Okay, he's 6 foot. Okay.
Right.
He was 6 foot. Let's now what's interesting is when he went to the NFL, his height was never even brought up. I
Yeah.
mean, Bryce Young started last week at 5'10", right, in the NFL, and damn near
Mhm.
won the game against the Rams. But yeah, and his height was not the issue why they didn't win. So I think there's this attitude has changed of production over prettiness, if you will, like the eyeball test. Like, yes,
Yeah.
tackles need to be a certain size, defensive linemen need to be a certain size, yeah, quarterbacks need to be a certain size. They have to have the ability to withstand taking shots and all that. But at the end of the day, production and the ability to make all the throws is far more important, and make the reads is far more important than do you fit the mold, so to speak. And so the faster the D linemen get, the more agile they get, the quicker the quarterback has to become, right? And I think that's the game is evolving, and so I think the NFL will eventually have to evolve to that as well, because that's what's getting built in college.
Yeah.
So, but JP, this is something I want to talk to you about. So, what is your thought? What are your thoughts on the state of college football as it pertains to what we're seeing, transfer portal, and now how teams are? We talked about it last week to a certain degree about how they're aligning their rosters, and I think the transfer portal is really detrimental to one more blow to the high school athlete. Yes, when they get to college, it's good for them,
Yeah.
but it's bad in the front facing stages, because the early stages, because those guys are they're kind of locked out to a certain degree, right? So
They
uh,
are. Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know
they are. It's really difficult. It's a detriment to guys who are capable of playing for a Power Four school. Okay, that opportunity has really diminished with the transfer portal. That's who it's affected the most. You'll still play college ball if you're good enough to play college ball. You'll play college ball. You might still play for an SEC school, a Big Ten school eventually. But just like you were talking about Jay Harris, right? Jay Harris played running back at Timberland, had to go to Northwest Missouri State, then jumped to Oregon. Now he's at Kansas State. You know, I mean, that's the way. If you are a guy who a Dylan Duff, right? A Rocco Marriott, guys like that, you're coming right out of high school and you're going to a Mizzou, a Kansas State, a Central Florida. You're pretty elite, right? People always ask me, well, how do you grade people? Well, I always have like elite caliber guys, big time players, right? You went D1, you're pretty much a big time player. If you're going to a Power Four school now, should consider yourself kind of an elite player,
yes,
because they don't need to take you. They don't need you, but they want you, right? Because there are guys who are just as good as you who will not get that opportunity, but they've seen something in you that they're willing to do that with. And so
right.
that's really the biggest difference that you see now is it's their caps, their levels and their caps. And some of the guys, in fact, I was having a conversation with somebody about Rocco Marriott, right? You remember he came to the Elite Combine last year, had a uncomfortable conversation, right? Following it, about some things that should probably be done. But they were, concerned about the, opportunities that were going to be available. And we knew that they were going to commit to James Madison. But I said, look, the opportunity to play at a higher level than James Madison is going to be there. And
Mhm.
in the end, it was. He had opportunities from West Virginia, Missouri, who just picked up another quarterback. I don't know if you saw that from the portal.
Yeah, Connecticut.
Yeah, a journeyman. I think this is his fourth or fifth school. But really, I mean, that's the biggest thing. It really what it's going to do is make it harder to play at the highest level possible. We're in years past, as you know, and we've talked about it. There are guys who would make rosters, say at Mizzou, right? and then hang out there for 5 years, never play, never see the field.
Yep.
But they would be on that team. They would go to the bowl games like everybody else. They would practice. They would, you're not really seeing that.
Speaking of that, so Indiana, and I don't know what the bowl rule was for the game, but I know I have an authority that the younger players for Indiana, I'm sure maybe the same thing for Oregon, were not, the red shirt guys weren't dressed out and on the sideline. To me, like that's why you're there. Like, why would you not have your whole team on the sideline, right? And
Correct.
So, to me, I look at some of this stuff, and this is taking nothing away from Indiana, because I think what they've done is pretty remarkable the last 2 years. But let's just call it the way it is. People are like, oh, they went from being the worst, record all time to now they're 2 years back to back, in the playoffs, now in the finals, and the year before quarterfinals. But let's just call it the way it is. This is not the resurgence of a team that was just built from the bottom up, and they've done it the right way. And they've done it the right way in the transfer portal era, right? And so they have grown a team. And last year they had the tailwind of having a really good James Madison core group come over with him, and a few of those guys are still hanging around. But the vast majority of the guys they're playing are grad transfer seniors and then redshirt juniors, which are all 4-year to 5-year guys, some 6-year guys, and then maybe 3 sophomores are starting for them. Other than that, it's a purely mature team. And so, I said to someone the other day, because the guy was like, well, I don't think that's a good argument. I said, okay, let me ask you this. Freshman football. Is it easier to coach a freshman football team of 14-year-olds, or is it easier to coach the 18-year-old varsity team? Which one can you put more complex stuff in faster? Which one has more experienced players? He goes, well, the varsity team. I said,
physical development.
Now take 18-year-old boys that are new to football, college football, and then take 22 and 23-year-old guys that are their 5th years and 6 years of college football, and you ask yourself, who's easier to coach? So, am I taking anything away from Stignetti? No, not at all. But guess what? I would argue that is a totally different style of coaching than developing. Are you developing? Are you? Because how much time do they really get to develop? If you really know how college football is set up, that's not the game. Getting older, mature players that you can then systematize and have them run your system is not necessarily what you and I would consider like old school coaching. That's not
no, not at all.
That is orchestrating choreography and nailing it, right? And so that's my point is that would have never been possible without the transfer portal NIL era. So
correct.
To say like this is such a Cinderella story. No. It's emblematic of the situation that we're in. And so if you're a purist of football, I am thinking this is going to be another knock against the high school kids, because there's less people that are going to worry about developing the high school kids. Okay. So they're going to be pushed down to the lower levels. So let's just play this out. They get pushed to the lower levels. What do we know about the lower levels? They don't have the funding. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the nutrition, and they have less financial stability in their coaching positions. Okay. So now you're taking a game and you're sloughing off the lower level development of guys and hoping they rise up through the ranks by the time they're 22 and 23 that they're good enough to play at your level.
The smaller colleges have become the developmental league.
Yeah, that's but supporting them, right? Like the Cardinals support their farm system.
Well, nobody is.
Nobody will.
Which means the players are pretty much having to do it on their own.
Correct.
Okay,
and so if you're a purist, you're looking at it and going, wait a second. This is not good for the game. Everybody's worried about the money the athletes are getting paid. Don't worry about that. Worry about the system. This is going to be a copycat league. So everybody's going to go, hey, Stignetti's done a really good job of doing all this work and getting these guys together.
See, he knows how to.
He knows how to get them.
He knows how. This is the thing. This is professional football now.
Yes,
he knows how to run a professional football team. That's what he's
100
done at Indiana, right? This
100%.
is this is why I could see NFL teams coming for him, right?
Yep.
Because like, hey, this guy gets it. He's running a pro team. That's how Indiana went from being nothing to number one. One is he understood he has the opportunity to have a professional team, right? Went out, used free agency. It's what it is. You got his free agents, built what he did under, with the freshmen or whatnot. But those guys aren't even going to be at schools anymore, right? They're
Hey,
stay there.
right, they're not, JP, and
They're at Indiana for a couple years. They're not playing. I'm going to go someplace. I'm going to play.
they're gone. And did
They're
you
gone.
see the stat? And again, this could be wrong because I've seen conflicting deals, but the average age of I think it was their starters was 23
Mhm.
years old. So I've seen anywhere from 22 to 23. The average age of the starters on the Packers, do you know what they are? 25.
I was going to say, yeah.
I mean, just think about it. Like that is significant. So then in that same vein, the 2020 class of high school quarterbacks, a good friend of our show, of the show, sent this to me earlier. Carson Beck is still playing. He was the 13th rated quarterback. The number 1 and number 3 that year were Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Both of them were just playing in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Okay. And then their third year in the NFL. And Carson Beck is still in college.
Why not?
Probably making as much this season as those guys made this season.
Correct.
Right. And
Correct.
so I can't fault Carson Beck. I mean, the best thing he could have done was stick around this year. It was beautiful, smart. But
Yeah.
I do think, JP, there's going to have to be something that's going to have to give. And again, this isn't knocking what they've done in Indiana. It's beautiful. He played the game.
Hmm.
But I do fear that there's going to be a lot of copycats. That it's going to be, hey, we have this win now mentality, so we have to get as many older guys on our roster, and we're going to turn our roster over every year anyway. So what's it matter? Why do we have to worry
Right.
about? Yeah, so let's get the
So,
most mature guys, bring them
yeah,
in, treat them like pros, and get a pro level output.
it's taken away the purity of college football. It's not the game that we grew up on,
Mm-mm.
or it's just not. And like we said last week, people got mad at us when we said it was coming, and it's here. It's professional football. So, taking it back to the kids, they're just going to have to realize that their recruitment's going to be different. Their pathway to be where they ultimately want to be is going to be different. And the guys who really have the perseverance and will build themselves, continue to build themselves every year, those are the guys who are ultimately going to play at the highest level and
100%.
and be successful. And all you got to do is take a look at the transfer portal and look at all the guys from the come out of Missouri. A lot of guys we know. We talked about Tion Gray. We talked about Kai, Roberts Day, Trevor Burr. Is in the portal. Played at Iowa State. Another elite football combine standout guy. I mean, just the names are everywhere. Like you said, Jay Harris is at Kansas State now. I mean, every time I turn around, there's some local guy who's in
Crazy.
the portal, and they're making money. I think who is it? Was it Jamal Davis? Just wound up at Kent State
Yep.
too.
Hey,
So I
hey,
mean,
speaking of money, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. This is this collective bargaining and what the NCAA is trying to get this antitrust protection, and you start to kind of read the tea leaves, and there's some momentum for that. But I think they got to be real careful what they ask for, because if they do get their antitrust protection, they get this TV, some of this TV, congressional stuff that with the TV rights and all that stuff done.
yeah.
At some point, there's going to be collective bargaining, right? That means unionization of the college football players. So let me ask you this, and I'm sure they've thought this through, but maybe they haven't to this certain degree. Right now the workers, so to speak, the players are getting 20% of the NFL revenue, correct? I mean, excuse me, the college revenue.
College. Yeah.
So 20 with a cap of 20 something million, 22 million. JP, the NFL shares 48% of their money with
Right.
the players. You think, and most businesses keep their operating costs of their employees anywhere from 30 to 40, 35, 40%, depending on the industry. But do you think for 1 second that 20% is gonna
Stand?
it's not
No,
gonna stand?
no.
So, like, they're worried about this, and they're worried about people paying for the scholarships, and they want protection. They better be careful what protection they get, because the real protection needs to go to the workers who are not getting paid what they're really worth, and they're still worried that they're getting too much money. They're trying to control the NIL component of it. They better be careful, because they're going to be find themselves in a situation where 45% of their budget is gone paying for the athletes each year, when all those years they should have been spending more wisely when they were making every penny and the players were
Right,
making none. So,
right.
I think there's the argument if everybody wants to go back to the way it was. There's no going back to the way it was, right? There's
No,
too many rules and laws that are going to.
man. It's going even further. You are going to have guys who cannot afford an NFL team buying college teams, and you're going to have a super league. You're going to have the SEC, Big Ten, those schools just have their own quote unquote conference or league, and it's going to be financed by billionaires, right? Guys who own Oracle or own FedEx or wherever, and they're gonna take them over, and they're not going to be as expensive or costly as NFL teams, perhaps, but that's ultimately where you're going to go, and you're going to have college
Schools
football.
aren't not gonna be able to afford. That's why you see private equity, the circling,
uh,
because they know that this is unsustainable without
right,
major cash injections, influx of money into the system. That's why Utah kind of proactively did it. And I
yeah,
think, again, now you're gonna get a lot of cooks in the kitchen and deciding who's coaching and who's doing what and all that stuff. But
oh yeah,
a lot of these schools are
you
not
got
as
that
flush
already.
with cash as you think they are. They've been spending wildly for all these years because the golden goose keeps kicking out money, and
Yeah,
then all of a sudden they have to share 20% and they're all losing money. Well, that's a problem. That's something that they clearly are not running a tight ship.
correct. Now, college football is in a state of flux. Uh, Wanted to mention last week about Jack Felix from Cardinal Ritter committing to Mizzou. Guy who came in, man, and it really showed his stuff at elite during the training sessions. In fact, there were some colleges who reached out to me and wanted some highlights of him there. Sent him out. Boom. There went the there went the offers to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, how it works.
So that does it for us, man. Where can people reach you at?
You know what? Elitefootball.net. And then also a big announcement on our Offered app. So Get Offered is now in the Apple App Store. So
There you go. Check it
you
out.
can go get it on there.
Yep, check it out. You can reach me on X at JPRockMO, Instagram, JPRockScoutU, and of course, Game Plan Strategies, gpsfootball.org. Go ahead and sign up for a free consultation, and I will help provide you answers to your questions you want for your child's pathway on their football journey. Did you give your social media?
Elite Football on X and Elite Football Academy on Instagram.
All right, that does it. Everybody enjoy your week.